One, two, 1, 2. TJ, can you turn the music down? That was all too convenient. I think it's going to start up again. But anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Stone Soup Poetry tonight, October 12th at 2015. We have an amazing feature for you tonight, straight from the group Society of Urban Poets, and winner of the second ever Stone Soup Poetry Slam that took place in July. There's going to be another Stone Soup Poetry Slam taking place the first Monday of next month in November. Definitely look for the invites about that. Dee Dee and I should be sending out the invites for it very shortly. Tonight is a society. Tonight is, and the rest of the month is actually very soup-centric in that we're featuring members of the Society of Urban Poets all this month. Next month is going to be Hannah Brown. And 2 weeks after that, all goes well and she gets her voice back. She's in the front row right now. Let's give a round of applause for Crystal Beck. She's going to be performing as Nava the Butterfly, if all goes well, for a Snoop Dogg themed night, of all things. It's going to be pretty fun. I'm not sure exactly what that's going to entail, but we should enjoy it tremendously. And that's going to close out, the next two performances are going to close out Soup Month, the unofficial Soup Month. It kind of just happened by coincidence. Then we're going to have the Stone Soup Poetry Slam on the first Monday of November, and hopefully more features to be announced. I'm negotiating something with Susan Deercloud, very popular Native American poet who has come here numerous times and hopefully will return. But more on that and other announcements later in the month. If you've never been part of our group before online, you can join our Facebook group. Very easy to find, very easy to join. We also have a website, stonesouppoetry.blogspot.com, and we have a Yahoo group page. Moving on, we're going to be featuring Jeannie Nunes tonight. Let's give her a round of applause even though she's not here. And it looks like we're doing our official second live feed. I don't know how this looks yet, because I have to go run around and wait for someone to get on the open mic. But just as a little tip, if you're a performance poet and you don't want to deal with the mic, that's great, but step over to the right. Otherwise, especially if you're a shorter individual, it just might be like a little crew cut popping up from the side here. We want to make sure we get you. We had a very successful Stone Soup live feed last week with the Souped Up Beat Poetry Festival. Again, thanks to Dee Dee Delgado, who hopefully will be here tonight. She was at Children's Hospital earlier today and recovering from, I think, a fall. And hoping she makes it back tonight to see Jeannie perform. Jeannie's on her way as well, and other people are coming in. If you have not signed in on the open mic and you wish to do so, please come see me during the poet's reading, or just like raise your hand and I'll bring the chart right there. For those of you who've never come here before, we do meet here every Monday night from 7 to 9. We have a sharp 9 o'clock end time, which is why we're getting started as soon as possible. I ask that you keep your open mic segments to about 3 to 5 minutes, especially since Jeannie still has to be here. If we have to, we'll have a quick little break. But we're going to move on and try and be as try and go for brevity as best we can, except for the feature, of course. So we meet every Monday night from 7 to 9 here at the Out of the Blue Gallery. And if you've never been here before, this is a brand new location for the gallery. It's been in several locations, and the most recent is here in Central Square proper, which is a thrill. If you're interested in supporting this gallery, look around for any items, be it paintings or shirts or even DVDs, and see if you can buy something, or even consider donating a small donation to the Kickstarter page. We do ask for a donation tonight, which helps to go pay our rent, as well as support the poets at the end of their show. We're going to get to the first poet for the night. on the open mic. Let's give a big round of applause. She's the closest to signing on the number 1 spot. Everyone, if you're an open micer, you never sign number 1 spot. You always sign 2 or 3, and then inadvertently you're the number 1 anyway. But she's brave enough to take the number 2 spot, and we're glad of it. Let's welcome Suzanne O'Toole.
All the things we said. Phone rang. You said hi. I said hey. You said maybe we. I said I don't know. You said but what if. I said who knows. You said please love. I said please don't. You said well, why not. I said you know. You said oh yeah. But later on your phone rang and I said hi. And you said, hey. I said, maybe we. You said, I don't know. I said, please love. You said, please don't. I said, why not? You said, you know. I said, oh yeah.
Another round of applause. That was short but sweet, and it's like an abridged David Mamet play. I like that. Anyway, let us go to the second person on the open mic who runs a writers group and sometimes poetry readings down in Chelsea, Mass. Ask her about it later on. And welcome up, Jamelia Oriar. Come on up.
I have problems with the light. Good evening, everybody. I actually have the groups on Facebook, but I have so many people who I tagged, but I don't see you contributing much, Everybody's welcome to jump in and, throw a prompt or a poem or, just kind of like only you can do that, and everybody here. One of the poems I'm going to read is about Mrs. Wilson. I have kind of like, in my writing, I have stories that sometimes I just, scramble and start from here and there, but they end up telling the same story of the same person or many people. And Mrs. Wilson is the story about a woman who has been struggling with Alzheimer's. I started the first poem I wrote, it was like kind of rhythmic, and it starts with the end. It's like when she's dying. This one is about when she was like at the beginning, moments of lucidity, moments of wandering, and it's the fall season. Yeah, I am knitting. The falling pieces, the cracked brown ears. Yes, I am knitting. The sun-dried colors and words. My heart flushes. The dried ovaries. The uterine that sheds no more, but leaves on my hospital door. An alarm on my ankle gives me off each time I try to reach out to the little slice of pizza on my young hospital roommate's nightstand. My heart does the same. It sheds sweat and tightens. It has become lazy with the years. My old man thinks my vagina does the same. The once upon a time an entrance to warm humid streams is now a trench in a desert that only sheds pain. I many times looked at his dangling, deflated shrunk tube, snuck into his arm hid his face in a pillow on my flat chest, and let him remember how he loved my bosom. I have to water the plants. Leaves are falling on the ground together with the blue and with the bike and the now rusted cherry, a carcass on the ground. Oh, how she must envy me now. At least I can stand and run around. White fluffy flakes fall on my bare hands and head as Mrs. Nightingale loomed running ahead. Didn't you see the brown leaf and yellow band? She yelled, throwing her head back. I had difficulty reading, really.
Yeah, it was too dark.
It's like, honestly, this is like kind of a disco lighting. And I barely see what I'm writing on my, Otherwise, I just give it dance and go and sit. I had really difficulty, like I'm dizzy, As,
We're fixing it now.
I just got
There we go.
Yeah, it's like Bed and Beyond. Bed and Beyond, beyond the soap opera, table massage and a cranky physical therapist hand, electric stimulation of congealed senses, the snickering redhead at the scary mask, the Halloween lantern in a hallowed pumpkin, beyond Emily's elegies, would she mind the bare name? Bare remains the strict bed, click, click, click. Some people say it less speechy, tick tock, sounds like a menace. My guts roar in agreement and yawn, Betty, 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 bed and beyond. Tick tock, sounds like double up. Is it really a heart in tune? What would my EEG reflect at this moment? Would my poem be inscribed on your screen? Would they decipher the waves, the green, red, yellow shades, the amplitude, velocity, and the spikes? Am I spiking? Has the alarm went off? Betty, 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 bed and beyond. The last one, and I'm saying atonement. A sweet dish, cardinal drinks, some pancakes and buttermilk, the gratitude in my child eyes, the innocent clown, a child inhabited with antique voices, a window on brighter light, my 7 sins, my lust, and how I surfeited on almost everything, all my actions that ended in whole lick were finally at peace. Thank you.
Rachel, are you ready? Looks like Rachel Eisenberg is not ready. If she's out there, can you just let her know that I'll call her later?
I don't know.
Okay, then let's welcome up next person on the open mic. She hasn't been here for a while. She has performed with Soup. She's been doing her own thing for a while. It's going to be great to welcome up. Let's welcome up Cobans. Come on up.
By my own thing, Chad went studying for the LSAT and dying because senior year. Okay, I guess another reason I've dropped off the face of the earth is some personal shit, which is more relevant to the second piece that I'm going to do, but this is the first one. I'll read the poems on your skin. I will commit them to memory. It's funny because I am not even good at memorizing my own lines, but the stanzas of others become implanted in my brain. At night, and when I think too much, I feel them in my veins. I can sense the flow of all you don't want to know. Did you want me to know? Drunk stories taste bitter. Memories are hard to swallow. I wish I could dissolve them from my insides. Words crush bodies. These bricks weren't meant for building. You are throwing stones. Hiding in the shadows of your own forgotten writing, tucked between stanzas of half-assed apologies and everything you told me intoxicated. I knew it was probably toxic, but I swallowed my words as I absorbed your words and was drawn into the ones that were not even said. There isn't irony in the fact that question marks hang. Look like a noose. Who were you trying to suffocate? I said I wouldn't write it. I'm too in tune not to listen, though. I wonder if you would listen. I wonder if you listen. And this is the second, more personal piece, and I'm not going to preface it because too much information. I did not know how to tell you that when you called me Riley, it felt like a song. Calming melodies allowed something to feel right. The way the name escaped your lips made sense. You sang validation the first time you said Riley. I felt okay for the first time. I did not know how to tell you that when some people called me by this name, it felt like a joke. But when you called me by this name for the first time, it was the first time it did not feel like a joke. I told you how I appreciated how good you were with pronouns, but I never asked you if you remembered using the wrong one when you were drunk. I do not remember if you apologized profusely or did not even notice you didn't. I do not know why it still weighs on me like a building, trapping me in debris. I did not know how to tell you that when you used the right words, it felt like home. So I guess your slip sent it all falling down. When you had been good about it, you were the first person with whom it did not feel fake, did not feel like a joke, but I guess there was a punchline after all. I guess I'm choking on it. I did not know how to tell you what your words had meant. I did not know how to tell you that it had sounded like a song. I did not know how to bring up your slip up. I did not know how to say this scratched the record. I know you were drunk, but this still scratched me. Now we seem to barely speak. I guess we're busy. But your songs still outweigh broken records. I guess all I am left able to say is I feel like a broken record. I do not know how to tell you anything.
Welcome back to the open mic. Hope to see you again very, very soon. And let's welcome up next someone who also hasn't been back at the open mic for a little bit. It's always great when he's here. He's always helping out at the background of Stone Soup. Let's welcome up Mr. Chris Robbins. Uh-oh. Chris Robbins? Okay, he's outside. All right, who will be showing up later once I bring up this next person. Let's give it up for Martha Boss.
It's a long walk around here.
Scream. I read recently that a painting by Edvard Munch sold for $130 million. It was a famous painting called Scream. How often it seems our lives are governed by how well we learned not to say what should be said. The cosmic scream, often stifled, often a weapon, often a disease, pain remembering a first language, congregate of bawl, screech, howl, yelp, wail, and squawk. Children's ABCs. Time released in adult blah blah. Tightened caps of exasperation. bewildered theory rules. Two accumulated quiet selves explode. Some child scream is code. Two short screams mean, just in case you didn't know it, I'm here. One medium scream is, I'll probably need you to play with me. One long scream is, no, you're not doing it right, the block goes here. Some people become expert at not saying what should be said. Some become congressmen. How often we are governed by words that replace the sound that could have been a famous painting.
Let's welcome up next, the return, reintroduce, Chris. Oh, you got it. Mr. Chris Robbins. Come on, bring it, give him a hand.
Thanks very much. I got a poem, and I also got a wise guy's song to share you with. But first, I'll share with you a poem called "Plexiglass Wall." If I can, oh yes, I brought my Black Lives Matter picture that I made with my childhood light bright set. And I give you tonight a poem on about the autistic spectrum, and the situation in this one is so bad. How bad is it? It's so bad that the poor guy does not even know he has any kind of disability or learning differences. He doesn't even know he has any form of autism. This one's called Plexiglass Wall. And the worst part of all, the poor bastard's in high school. My condolences. Banished from the haven of your friend-embracing company, I may as well be banished from heaven. A plexiglass wall stands between us, blocking out the spoken message I try to send to you, resisting all attempts to break through the deceptive filter that distorts our view of one another and portrays me in a darker light. Do you misread my friendship intentions as being invasive and needy? Or perhaps I misread them myself by seeking you out as a token to put upon the mantle of my ego. Do you mistake the hand I extend to you for a batterer's fist? Or do I disregard the possibility that I may not be right for your world? So what is the force that built this plexiglass wall? Was it misunderstanding? Was it abuse? Or was it, oh, me? This first one. Okay, now this is my second bit. It's a little parody in which I'm speaking out against promiscuity in this one by making fun of the character narrating the story. Here's a mock on Charlene's "I've Never Been to Me" song. Hey, mister, you mister, cursing at your life. You're a discontented motherfucker with a nagging bitch for a wife. I know you're always dreaming about all the chicks you'll never do, but I wish someone had talked to me like I wanna talk to you. Well, I went streaking in Georgia and California and any place that I could run. Bought a 6-pack of beer and some Colombian stash, and I got baked in the sun. But I got in trouble for fooling. It's all because I boinked so many dogs that I caught fleas. I've been to paradise, but I totally screwed up me. Hey, mister, you mister, please don't walk away, 'cause I need to get on my high horse about the perils of getting laid. I know I sound like a Fruit Loop, but I see a lot of me in your eyes. Won't you share the part of a diseased heart that slipped between too many thighs? I picked up a skanking niece, moved her ass with grease.
All right, all right. Bring it home. Bring it home.
I dropped my pants in an honor review and showed them what I got. I've been molested by queens, but then created something, and that's why my dough goes to alimony. I've been to paradise, but I totally screwed up me. Yo, dog, you know what paradise is? It's bullcrap! It's a fantasy we make while we're jacking off. But you know what truth is? It's that adorable little bastard you created whose antics belong in America's funniest home videos. And it's that woman who slapped your face for suggesting a threesome this morning. The same one you're gonna muff dive tonight. That's truth. That's nookie. The rest of it's clean. The rest, it is clean.
Time restriction.
Time restriction.
All right, thank you, Chris. Thank you very much, Chris.
Well, the last part of it's not too, the last part of it's anticlimactic anyway. I did lots of stuff.
All right, okay. Another thank you. Thank you, Chris.
She asked me to take it home, okay.
The power of music.
All right. I'm happy at least I actually caught the look on James's face when he started. I think it was right after he said the word boink, but okay. Proof positive that, you know, every time I say words and now for something completely different, you know, it's very true. For something absolutely different, the person who helped bring it home yet last week at the Souped Up Beat Poetry Festival, he was our final feature for that night, and he took it all home. It was amazing. You can catch it on the live stream. Let's welcome up Mr. Jonathan J. Joseph.
Hello. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day to everybody. You know, it's the first thing we should be celebrating.
Amen.
Also, I hope everybody's excited for the feature tonight. There's somebody who's awesome. Y'all will find out soon enough, you know. I don't want to keep you waiting. And then shout out to anyone who was at the Million Man March also. That was an event. I went. I was there. You know. There's some going on also in 2 weeks. There's Rise Up October, sponsored by for the families who have lost I guess somebody to mass incarceration or police violence. So that's next. That's on October 24th in New York, in Washington Square, in the park. But time for us to get familiar with our present corrosive system. It's been a while since we did more than disrupt the normalized dysfunction. I'm tired of suppressing a hunger which lacks capital nourishment. Can barely feed off these fucking government vouchers that vow no citizen shall die on an empty stomach. And mama done broke her back while trying to make my pains ease up. Who else starving in this bitch? And y'all at least a little thirsty after all those dry crumbs. Crusts done covered your sockets. They're feeding us shit, just look once will be enough. Surely we at war, didn't you know? Generations born beneath the blood moon amongst a fresh slit American apocalypse, martyred in the name of privilege for white men seeking washed freedom. Do you see it now? If not, perhaps already too late. Forget about manifesting any damn destiny. I'm doomed to die, but for heaven's sake, Lord, let me at least live unchained. And I actually wrote something for Nava, who was sick. I told her last week, she probably forgot. It's all right. But it's called She Is. So every time I say I am, I'm really saying she is. I am mother, daughter, auntie, even maybe one day grandmama, all us born of survivors. My sister's keeper, we who be linked to humanity through this love interwoven within each spirit, not capable of being claimed somebody's sole possession, yet it thrives on our shared singular rhythm, a beat which resonates beyond infinity, cascading over everyone as silent bliss. God kisses my forehead early morning and throughout the ascending sunset, says to me, I am the divine inspiration behind heaven's design.
Let's welcome up Kane. Yes. I think you were here at the last Stone Soup Slam, in fact. Welcome back.
So I wrote this last summer. It was a weird summer, but do thoughts of me linger the way the taste of you... wait, let me start over, sorry. Do thoughts of me linger the way the taste of you does on my tongue? Does your mind wander past the desert storm, blinding this scorching instinct to pounce on, prey, helplessly gazing upon the stars? You slam me across the pavement, spreading me through the galaxies, leaving a shockwave known as an aurora borealis. Splashes of ivy and golden sunrise disappear in the distance, fading away, melting and molding into figures, rumbling in sheets. Silken smooth our skin grazing creates flashes pulsing through my body. So I ask, do I linger around, prancing up and down your spine the way you do mine?
And up next, coming right following that, we have Angelica Maria. Let's have her come up to the stage. Come on up. Also hasn't been seen since the Slam, so please take care. It's going to be in November.
Did I miss my spot? I'm sorry.
All right. Hello. Okay, I don't think I've done this here before. This is called Walking Flags. Immigrant children grow up as walking flags here. They learn what it means to be American as they get the red beaten out of them, stay up at night praying their skin would lighten white, and are suffocated till they turn blue. You could paint a star-spangled banner with what has been taken out of them. They memorize our nation's colors as they watch their flesh represent their hues, noticing the pattern of red to white to blue. Try their best to recite the national anthem in a language that does not fit in their mouth, are forced to claim themselves American, but will always be treated like immigrants. At the cafe I work at downtown, I watch every day rich white men come in and order Americanos. The migrant workers at my job joke, an Americano for an Americano. They wish they could buy their American for $2.75. Wish that it was that easy. My friend's nephew Miguel's 4th of July happened the first week he moved here from El Salvador. It did not look like what he thought it would, did not sound like the red ramparts he heard about on TV, did not resemble smiling faces playing trumpets, waving at you to come get some of this freedom. There were shots in the sky, but they were not fireworks. When the police picked up his body off the cement, The ground was bright red. When they laid him down into the ground, his small brown face was pale white. The holy water Amma used to soak the rosary to put on his tombstone was crystal blue. The downside of the American dream is that for some immigrants it is a nightmare they do not wake up from. Our light is so shed on opportunity, we forget to show what is lying in the shadows. So now whenever his family sees a flag waving, they make sure to check that there is not a body underneath it. Make sure it is not someone they know. To them, our image of freedom is a sheet or a casket, and it cannot escape it. They see them everywhere they go, in elementary schools, on news channels, in front lawns, and they all look like tombstones. Everywhere they go feels like a cemetery. Still trying to find their son somewhere between the stars and the stripes, wondering why they can't stop seeing red. Wondering why this country turned their sun into a flag. Wondering if the dream they came all the way here for is really just that, a figment. Something that does not exist, something you feel silly forever believing in.
We're going to keep on going till the end of the open mic. I ask that everyone respect the 3 to 5 minutes as everyone has. I appreciate that greatly tonight. We do have to end at 9 o'clock sharp because there's going to be a musical act coming in at that time. Sometimes we're able to go way over because the gallery is very generous if there's no other shows. Tonight's not one of those nights, so we're going to respect their time. We're going to get to the next individual, and I trust me, everyone who signed up late, they're going to signed up later on the time, you're going to get your call. Let's welcome up first someone who we missed earlier, Rachel Eisenberg.
Hello. This is called coffee. I sat across from her at Starbucks, the one on the corner, Charles Street and Beacon. She lifted up the medium cup of coffee to her lips. She took a sip, then continued talking, telling me about work, about the families she was counseling, about how one boy had been mandated to her care. As he had been smoking pot, I nodded and took a sip of my mocha latte. The sweet hot liquid down the back of my throat. She told me more about her clients, like how one girl cut herself. She asked me about me, and I told her that there was nothing much going on, still mostly watching television, and that I thought I was too fat. I didn't eat much though, so I didn't know how to lose weight. Then we both sipped our coffees together in silence.
Thank you, Rachel. Coming up next, Mr. Chris Fitzgerald.
Mark Twain, in his introduction to Huckleberry Finn, said, anyone looking for a plot, and that's where we shot. So it's called Yo, Let It Go. And of course it's about betrayal and vengeance. And the bastard squealed. I was in the first grade, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all. I had failed the eye exam at school. My parents had purchased the eyeglass, had the prescription filled. I had the glasses in my pocket. I wouldn't wear them, no. Why? Did Humphrey Bogart wear glasses? How about Superman? Oh, but his sissified alter ego Clark Kent had glasses. Enough about characters outside the neighborhood. Let's talk about the neighborhood. It was a year before my father had bought his first house in his old neighborhood, beautiful house.
We were living in one of those veteran housing projects that America had built big time in the 40s and 50s. It could be bad. I remember even the dogs in the neighborhood walked around with bats. Good and bad being all too often just social garments, independent of honesty, so sometimes I would wear the bad garments. In fact, when I was bad, I was so bad that the bad word itself acknowledged the existence of only 3 bad people, and both of them sent me Christmas cards every year. That's what the glasses were doing in my pocket. Sister Louise's classroom. I pull out my glasses to show my pal. At least I thought he was my pal. He sat right across me like pals had done from time immemorial. As soon as he got the faintest whiff of what was going down, he raised his right hand. Sister, look what he got. My thoughts at the time, you lousy louse. You bum-scratching bum-scratcher. You nose-picking nose-picker. You fart-smelling fart-smeller. In dirty rat. Sister played her role perfectly. Made me stand out in the front hall with my glasses on, shaming me in front of the entire school. 300 years earlier, a few miles east of that school, Boston Common, a Puritan trick brought over from England to be pilloried was having your arms, legs, and head protrude through this wooden thingamajig. Courtesy of the powers that be, the offense, public drunkenness, or maybe being overheard to yell too loudly at one's mate. Public humiliation was the desired result. Those Puritans pilgrim knew diddly concerning public humiliation. Having one's entire school walk by you while you're wearing unwanted spectacles, and also when half of your own class strolls by going, yeah. I hated that yeah tone. Now there's more than a generous servant of some classic unimported American public humiliation activity. I beat Ham Racer up 20 times that year. Good beatings? I don't think so. People talk about the good old days. When I think of the lax criteria that was used to judge a good beating in those days, all your opponent had to do was start a cry, and one was allowed to jot it down in the diary that night as a good beating. That's the reason I consider them the fair to middle in good old days. Those beatings didn't resolve the issue. Indeed, 5 years after the incident, 4 years since the movers was paid, if someone just made a quick gesture from the right side of their bodies, they would become notables on my shit list. Indeed, 30 years later, I walk into a convenience store 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to purchase a beverage, cigarettes for some company, or a bag of mixed nuts I had been led to believe were on sale. I still check every aisle first. I can't even remember his name. But one problem-ending confrontation, be I going to sleep that night in Reno, Nevada, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Roanoke, Virginia, or as one or two of you already know, 15 months ago to this day, Shreveport, Louisiana. It was 3:30 in the morning. The household I was staying at had run out of toilet paper. Next thing I know, I hear myself saying, I'll go. It was a mom and pop convenience store. I guess mom was in bed, but pop was still up. When I swung open the glass door, there'd be a smell permeating the air of cosmic, yes, I said cosmic resolution. Aisle 3 canned goods. He was holding up with his right hand, yes, that right hand. Well, I guess he was pricing a can of Old Lady Horseshit's pumpkin pie filling. No, it wasn't him, and I apologize profusely. I just hope another 30 years doesn't pass by without I haven't reached an agreeable to all parties concerned conclusion to the aforementioned incident, or that I at least start to go to bed a little bit earlier, but the bastard squealed. Thank you.
We're going to close out the first half with, let's welcome up Tiara to close out the first half of the open mic.
Hello. Hello. Hi. Hi. Okay. My poem is titled, The White Patriarchy Stole All My Metaphors. The white patriarchy stole all the metaphors. When I tell you they stole, I mean the comparison of legs to bright beams that bless the land, leading to you, your sun beaming through your skin, the warmth I know. Comparisons of your brown skin to anything hits the mind as a means to devour. A consumption of flesh that will not end. Coffee with a splash of milk, roasted almond, autumn breeze, peanut, nutmeg, cocoa sorbet, palm honey. Equate the skin to bleak comparisons. These common metaphors make it hard to traverse compliments given and received. Metaphors to our skin that will remind us of the ways in which language has served to make us sound digestible. to be swallowed and shit out. But tone matters. How I say it, it's like the consumption will focus on the nutrients given to me by inhaling your scent and tasting your spaces and exploring those peaks and dipping 2 or 3 fingers just to savor. Frankly, most of the time on earth is spent eating, and the equation of skin to delicious comparisons fall from my lips genuinely, from someone who likes to be tasted and perpetually in a perpetual hunger, to a heaven on earth that exists.
We're going to take a 2-minute break. During this time, we're going to use the restroom, get a breath of fresh air, maybe even look at the various artists who are at work, ask them about their work, ask about the poet. Jeannie Nunes is in the house. Give her a round of applause. We're going to take a quick break. Be careful what you do. The camera's still got to go on for the live feed. I can't really pause it, but I can turn the volume down. We're going to be back as soon as we can with the feature poet in the second half of the open mic. We're passing around the box. We ask for a $3 to $5 donation. This helps us pay our rent and helps us pay for the poet's performance, too. Anything left over, we give to counseling for Aspie Chris. Thank you so much, and we'll see you after the break. 2 minutes, which probably means it's closer to 5 to 7.
When you say it's a live feed, so that means it's live, but you can't see it later.
You can see it, yep. Yes.
So where do you see it?
Oh no, they did some
On CCTV or what?
Yeah, they when they went to girls' college. No, I mean, if they were 5 to 14-year-old guys. That,
Oh, those are great.
Chad, where'd the water thing go?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for just showing up tonight. Attendance is everything, so gold star for everybody, just for being here. Rumor is it is my first time, so please be gentle. Featuring, that is. Stone Soup has been a really big catalyst for my progression this year, so it's only fitting that I'm here tonight. So welcome and thank you. And I'm going to go right into it. This first one is called Deadbeat, and it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm in tears as I write this. Gut-wrenching, stifled sobs birthed by years of waiting for you by that window. Only to be stood up again and again, choking on the bitter bile of betrayal. Convoluted memories of Daddy Dearest. He was a walking, talking, breathing ghost with nothing more to offer my mom than plagiarized promises and egotistical ejaculations. He was an enigma to my universe. His visits to the house were more of convenience to his dick than any consciousness to his daughter. Sperm donor extraordinaire, I can barely remember his face. Papa was a rolling stone who introduced me to disappointment early on, and then one day he simply just stopped everything. He ceased and desisted his already paltry paternal presence. No visits, no phone calls, no hugs, no support, no apologies, no explanations, no hellos, and definitely no goodbye. He was my first heartbreak and my last unrequited love. Father's Day was just another Sunday in June. He had abandoned me, left me when I needed him the most. Discarded me like a doll forgotten on a bench when recess gets rained out. There was no one left to protect me, especially when the wolves showed up in sheep's clothing. I hate him, but my heart loves him somewhere. He's a part of me, yet he's a complete fucking stranger. Deadbeat. He's a grandfather and doesn't even know it. I always wanted to be Daddy's little girl. Instead, I was just relegated to being just another big statistic. Always and forever, Mama's baby. On occasion, Daddy's kind of, sort of, maybe. Desertion and disappointment can break you if you let it. But chin up, baby girl. A few bumps and bruises does not make you damaged goods. 'Cause even a rose can grow from concrete. Thank you. This next one is called Big Girls Don't Cry, and it's a little self-explanatory as well, but I think it's tough enough in this world being a woman, but kind of when you put the label before that being a plus-size woman, or plus-size woman of color, or plus-size woman who's, you know, gay, or plus-size woman who's anything, or woman who's anything. Any of these labels kind of make life a little bit challenging, shall we say? So sometimes we have to take those labels and embrace them and give it right back to the world. So this is that.
Let's go, Jeannie.
Big girls, they don't cry, they don't cry. Big girls, they don't cry, they don't cry. Big girls are the most hated girls in the world, yet they say we don't cry, so I guess instead when our feelings get bruised and our armor of fat gets pelted by your plebeian diatribes, we should just suck it up and absorb all of the world's ugly, when in fact we really just want to rebuke your callous condemnations of losing weight is easy, girl. stop eating. And then give some serious side eyes with even lamer lamentations of, she's so pretty, for a big girl. You claim we don't move much, so we're going to get up, get out, and go and kick your asses. Then chase away those crocodile tears that are ripe with body shaming and pitiful looks of ridicule, and watch those same tears scurry off and dissipate into salty puddles of nothingness. Much like our self-esteem once did. Tell me, exactly when did being female and plus size become so scorned and demonized? 'Cause last I checked, we are as beautifully damaged as any size 6 out here. Our measurements are our own personal math equations to be added or subtracted at our own discretion. Not some brazen scarlet letter designed to ostracize and shame us. Our bodies are vessels of infinitely iconic ideologies, not some dartboard for your fucking insidious internal inadequacies. I wish back then that someone would have told us that we were as fly on the outside as we knew we were on the inside, that our even bigger personalities shouldn't settle for your minuscule opinions, trying to convince us that we are not good enough, simply because we are not thin enough. Silly rabbits, when will you realize that our lifelines are not defined or even remotely compromised by the numbers that make up our dress size? Big girls, don't you dare cry not one single solitary tear, because beauty and love do not equate to body and mass. And yes, bigger is not always better, but can someone please tell Vogue and Cosmo and Elle that by simply being a size 2 does not make you a 10? You see, my queendom is ruled by my power, not burdened by my pounds. I am a dime piece, even if your distorted vision only sees me as a 0. Thank you. You guys are far, far, far too kind. This next one is, I guess, what we would designate as new shit.
New shit!
It's a recent poem, and it's probably one of those things that the world, it's exactly what the world needs, right? Another sappy love poem. So the name of this is Love Poem number 4752, for those that still believe. He loves me not. He loves me not. He loves me not. He loves me. And why not? I've been waiting for him for a long time, almost a lifetime. I've had to kiss a few frogs in the meantime, but I knew he'd find me one day. Patience, grasshopper. See, the boomerang always comes back home. So when he did show up, I recognized that brilliant aura of his at the door, that innate familiarity that defies definition. Like when a mother can pick out her child's cries amidst the sea of humanity. Or when the love of your life from a former life comes back to your present life, and then all is all right. Because when you know, you just know, and I knew. See, he already had me before hello. I had asked God to send me someone who was like a tight verse over a dope beat. And then he shows up as this meticulously crafted haiku lingering over a John Coltrane track. His adjectives seek out my G-spot while his subjects and predicates finger at my cerebellum, making my consciously climax. I mean, even his staccato makes me swoon. He turned my timid question mark kind of existence into a bold exclamation point of purpose. I want to soak up any and all trace deposits of you, blood, sweat, tears, semen, so I can hang on to each and every one of your trains of thought and ride out 100 miles an hour right to the very depths of my psychological catacombs, so I can resurrect any camouflage affections that I had long cast away like 6 feet under. How is it possible that someone can give me so much life without giving any birth? Remnants of his sestinas and sonnets are pierced into my melanin for posterity, and just like grains of sand left over from a lazy day at the beach that still stubbornly cling to crevices long after you've come home, his warm breath hovering over my right ear serves as a serendipitous reminder of what undiluted happiness feels like on an ordinary day. He struts his magnificence fiercely like a finely tailored dashiki. He exudes God, as if the Almighty himself had showed up as cleansing vapors of burning sage. So I have no choice but to breathe him in, deeply, devoutly, and then never want to exhale. But please press play on that Coltrane track again. Two more, and then we can roll on out, guys. I appreciate your patience this evening, and I appreciate you all just showing up. Like I said, attendance is everything, and it means the world that you all are here. So.
You mean like 2 more poems?
Yes,
like
something
4
like that.
hours? What?
As Chad had mentioned, I am the first generation of my family. First person in my family born in this country, and that's an interesting duality. I am American for all intents and purposes, but the way that I was raised was not very American. When you have immigrant parents who don't speak the language and are trying to become Americanized, and you're kind of the interpreter for everything, and you're kind of like the ambassador for all things American. There's a lot of burden with that, but you kind of, when you grow up and you look back at it, it's a beautiful thing. And in my family, when I mention my parents, I think of my mother and my grandmother, because as the first poem indicated, my father really wasn't around much. So my grandmother was really the go-to person. She was definitely the matriarch of our family. So this poem is in honor of my history and my adoration for the woman who made me, essentially. So this is called Copper Tone Queen. I am the entrails of immigration. My mother, my grandmother, fresh off the boat, 1969. They would call my grandmother names she would never really understand, like foreigner, greenhorn, refugee, nigger. I was always convinced she was really just divine royalty on the low, or at the very least that she had walked this earth before, just in a different shell with a different name, but still strutting like a proud peacock with that bulletproof exterior of the copper tone queen she was. A daughter of Africa who had the audacity to want more, so she would end up crossing the same ocean, taking the same route that her mother's 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 mother had been forced to sail centuries ago. See, she was gonna reclaim that happily ever after that had been snatched from her bloodline. So fuck you and your perennial genocide. She was a 60-year-old widow, a mother, a grandmother, who left an entire existence behind to come and be a warrior in the land of the not so free, a land that rebuked and reprimanded her melanin, even while she herself rejoiced in it. Copper-toned queen. She turned a suitcase of tattered hand-me-downs into a life of the American dream. She'd go on to raise an entire generation without being able to speak a perfect sentence in English. Her heavy accent was one of the few things she still had left from home. She would sit down and watch Sesame Street with me each and every afternoon so that we could both learn the language. She was my tour guide to a homeland whose shores I haven't even reached yet, and I would be her ambassador to all things American, the perfect symbiotic love. But in my teenage years, we would battle. She tried so hard to keep me close to that old culture, while I tried just as hard to assimilate to the new. I became annoyed that she wasn't American enough, embarrassed by those headscarves and house dresses and those loud colors and incessant floral patterns that never seemed to match. Or those dreaded trips to the laundromat, walking to and from, where she'd be balancing these overstuffed bags on her head with no hands and perfect posture. It never occurred to me back then that she could have been a model. Naomi Campbell had nothing on her. Labor Day 2006, our empire stumbles. At 97 years old, my queen relinquishes her crown to a series of strokes left comatose. She always wanted death to be on her own terms, so no machines and no resuscitation for her, just spooning in that hospital bed. Her warm, brown body slowly withering away in that cold, white, sterile room. I was holding on to her for dear life, waiting on death, with clenched fists and white knuckles, reminiscing, praying, dreading on hearing that final, shallow, labored breath. And when it came, the world had lost an icon and didn't even know it. I made sure to be there for her in her end, just as she was there for me in my beginning. Copper-toned queen, I already carry your name, still learning how to balance this crown. This is my last piece for the night, because I know we have time restraints, and this is probably one of the oldest pieces that I have. It's about 10-15 years old, and it deals with a very raw issue that unfortunately millions of women go through every day, some whom I know personally, some who are related to me by DNA. So this is a poem for Alice and all the Alices of the world. My dearest sweet, sweet Alice, the devil walks amongst us. We've met him, we know him. He's pernicious, he's a bully. He exudes malice and deceit. When he gets mad, you better watch out. He's just a low-down, dirty motherfucker. Why don't you just leave him, they say? He's no good for you, they say. He's gonna kill you one day, they say. But I love him, she says. So blinded by this love, she never sees that left hook coming until it's too late. He's crossed the point of no return like 1,000 times, yet she keeps letting him back in, absolving him of all his sins. Oh, my dearest, sweet, sweet Alice. She cries far more than she smiles, so her tear ducts have been infected by her denial, refusing to admit that love don't live here anymore. It moved out years ago. Pain and heartache now sublet this space. You're the queen, I say. And queens are never meant to be punching bags, I say. Black and blue are not the color of love, I say. But I love him, she says. Once upon a time they were a teenage love, bonded by beautiful brown babies. Today, they're just familiar strangers. The distance between them grows like the distance at the end of a long, hard day. It won't happen ever again, he says. You made me do it, he says. If I can't have you, no one can, he says. I'm leaving, she says. But if history has taught us anything, is that the devil does not give up. He's persistent, he's patient, he's maniacal, he's dedicated to his mission of mayhem, relentless in his declaration of his mangled, distorted definition of love. He offers invisible excuses to cover up those indelible bruises. He sent her cards and flowers every day since she left him, but never once all those times she was laid up in a hospital bed, battered and broken. I guess there are some things that even Hallmark can't make okay. I still love you, he says. I miss our family, he says. I promise to change, he says. I love you, she says. Oh, my dearest, sweet, sweet Alice. She wants so much to believe in his plagiarized promises, but old habits die hard. And the devil is a liar. So she gave him 12 years and 5 beautiful babies, and he gives her 3 bullets to the back. 'Cause cowards never do anything up front. He does 10 years upstate with time off for good behavior. And guess who's waiting at those prison gates with arms wide open, ready to forgive and forget? Oh, my dear, dear, sweet, sweet Alice. Remember that the devil does not show up. The devil does not show up in a red cape or pounding horns. No, he shows up as everything you've ever wanted. But I still love him, she says. How do you help someone who is drowning if they keep throwing back the life jacket? He's ravaging her very existence and slowly and methodically towing my dear, sweet, sweet Alice right to hell. But I love him, she says. Not sure if she's trying to convince me or herself. Thank you all. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Here it is. Come on. Put your hands together 40, 50 times if you want. Come join in. And again, this is yet another reason by way of demonstration why I have partnered with the Society of Urban Poets. This is why we continue the Stone Soup's Poetry Slam, or as organized by the people of Soup. And you should come to there because, mostly because Jeannie will be there. Yeah, the Soup's performing in their own event, but this isn't like DraftKings, fuck it. But you should be there just to hear her words again, and come to Stone Soup as much as possible. And most importantly, go to the Society of Urban Poets website. I believe it's called Soup Boston, and catch it on future events. SoupBoston.com, and catch up on regular events. And these guys are showing up more and more. And taking the city by storm more and more, and rightfully so. I thank all of them. I especially thank Jeannie. I was not aware this is your first solo feature here at Stone Soup. We're honored. Yeah. Thank you. I hate to go straight to the second half of the open mic, but as she did say, and I appreciate her respect and all of yours, that we do have time restrictions. We got like 3 or 4 people left in the open mic. I want to give them their due as I give Jeannie the money. If you have not donated yet, we ask for a small $5 donation. Thank you. We've made our rent. We've already given them something very nice to them. But if you haven't donated yet, now's your chance. And we're going to get to the next person on the open mic. We're going to give it up for Big Papa Ben. Return to Big Papa. Bring it up.
That is going to be really hard to follow. That's going to be impossible to follow. Gosh. Okay. New shit. The class is called How to Run a Successful Startup, and the lecturer wears a $300 blazer and V-neck, hair styled by 90-mile-per-hour winds careening off the crimson thorax of his Ferrari and blown out by Helix speakers blasting something context-sensitive like Eye of the Tiger. This man is the Jesus of millennials. He literally leans forward on his stool at the front of the room, fixes us with spinning fluorescent slot machine gaze, and guarantees us all double cherries. Points to various parts of his haircut and indicate that all we need is right here. Unlike every messiah worth their salt, he has his 5 steps. 5 steps to a successful startup. Step 1, be white. Success isn't complicated, but race is. Minority history books tend to be depressing, and success manuals all 1920 bootstrap optimism, Mad Men fashions, and expensive bourbons. Never mind that the 1920s was springtime for the KKK, and the Selma marches were happening a few states away from Madison Avenue ad exec snifters of Bullet Rye. Keep your focus. Keep your eyes on the prize, particularly if your eyes are blue, just like the eyes of your investors. There is simpatico there, spelled out in the amount of zeros, about half as much for minority-run startups, while success is colorblind. Money is green and white and adorned with the faces of slave holders, and it's not change you want, it's platinum credit, white gold. Step 2, be privileged. When you're aiming for the top, it tends to help to start right here. Misguided entitlement is the theme song of the startup hero. It's a tune taught in low-capacity suburban classrooms and perfected in the country clubs of private universities. So every well-fed mouth, middle class and up, hums it under their breath as they walk into a pitch. And they sing a duet with investors. You went to Delta Kappa Phi? I went to Delta Kappa Phi. You knew Steve? I knew Steve. We've been doing it for generations. Why stop now? There are still Bugattis to drive, tropical islands with friendly governments to visit, and Boston luxury condos to come home to. And all you need is step 3, a name. Uber wouldn't be Uber without conjuring vague images of German stormtroopers, the virile pinnacle of fascist accomplishment. Pandora wouldn't be Pandora without the unashamed evocation of the classical fear that vaginas are the source of all evil in the world. OkCupid wouldn't be OkCupid without another problematic evocation that the solution to all romantic problems is penetration. Try to avoid complication. Instead of the act to avoid riding with poor people, call it Lyft. Instead of act to avoid strangers and still have sex with them, call it Tinder. Names are the perfect obfuscation of what your startup actually is, which is step 4, an idea that someone's already had. Too long has the taxi industry lived under the tyranny of stable employment. Startups are liberators, taking industry out of the hands of government regulation and negotiated contracts and giving it back to the people. And by people, I mean corporations, my friends. Startups dare to ask the question, why did we have all these regulations in the first place? If people want to auction their lives for a few dollars an hour, why stop them? Exploitation is what made this country great, and would America really be America without step 5, ruthless capitalism? In the world of economics, all things are commodities. Labor, love, and lives become dollars, yen, and euro. Its monetary alchemy turns everything into gold. In turn, gold becomes everything. When human lives are in equations, a simple shift of assumptions makes the wage cutter a visionary and the union buster an entrepreneur. So don't worry. Economists propped up dictatorships all over the world. They'll have no problem installing you. Our teacher leans back. The stool squeaks dramatically. The room fills with hungry silence, sucks up the air and charges it with electricity. He waits. What do you call a successful startup? A business. As sexy as a presidential run, as popular as Enron, there are precious few years where money grubbing looks like entrepreneurial spirit. Scratch the gilded surface and then bullshit all the way down. So rise, young founders, go forth and find your golden parachute, because in a world where corporate greed is holy and CEOs are saints, it won't be long now before the whole thing comes tumbling down. Thank you.
Coming up, one of our stalwart regulars, Mr. Eric Nelson. Come on up to the open mic. Come on up to the podium. Today's a sad day for me because I heard that somebody died. Somebody who I knew in school, and I'll let this speak for itself. Breath is life. Breath is the voice. The voice is the song. The voice is the word. Let us breathe together. I want this poem to be smart and well crafted. Maybe that will come later. But something must be said now. I feel very small. I remember I had an adolescent crush on her, but what does it mean now? I recall expressing my confused feelings awkwardly, and she was gracious to be forgiving of it. I crave a warm body. Now there isn't one. Is this what Munch meant when he made the painting with the beautiful woman, but also the skeleton arm in the background that you see gradually? I remember meeting her on Alumni Day and having those feelings still, and laughing at myself for them and letting them go because they were not relevant to what she was currently doing as a wife and a mother. Now those old feelings are still there, but they're not relevant yet again. Her singing voice was a beautiful thing. Tragic it had to be lung cancer. Breath is life. Breath is the voice. The voice is the song. The voice is the word. Let us breathe together. Thank you, Eric. That was wonderful and touching. And my condolences. We have a couple more people being added. We're still going to end on time. If it kills us, let's do, or just me. Let's be honest. Let's bring up regular here at the open mic, Miss Silent E.
Like virgin lips untouched. Tingling sensation on the tip of your tongue, releasing hard breaths. Moans escaping, finally being allowed to sing the songs of love and hum the tunes of desire. Moments captured in time, simple pleasures unmeasured, the touch of your palms against the small of my back. Our lips were never meant to touch. My mouth open, I swallow your secrets, letting our tongues dance into the night. Your kiss is like a passport that allows me to escape, to get away from this place. Where love never lived, was never allowed to move in, forgiveness ceases to exist. See, I'd be foolish to ask you to heal broken pieces, marked by past lovers with fake faces, lies I was told still rotate. The thoughts of forbidden juices mixing with your taste makes my heart palpitate. Gentle hands cupping my face, wanting so much to take me from this place. Baby, if you only knew the kind of feelings I had for you. Thoughts many a kind that ran through my mind. Excitement made it real, like the meds I needed to heal. But then again, that's how a kiss is supposed to feel.
Kane wanted to come back and do one more poem. We have plenty of time for it before we introduce James and Loy. So if you want to come up, Kane, come on up.
So this is untitled. My presence is not for the male gawk, nor for the male ego. To stroke your stability in this life you've known only but to shatter, my beauty is not here for the consumption of men, nor for the glare of your dull opinion, mouth washed under representations of what you think it means to be a man. How dare you look at me and think we could ever be equal? That I would settle your dustpan clippings. Give me your undivided devotion, for deity tells me so. She speaks through my footprints, motions me in ocean's breath to consume the mind of men, spit out your bones and make a stew to teach indifference and the tyrannies of how to exist. Make examples of how life was into orated messages. Hands hand down lessons mapped in masa and braids. Leeches are you, acclaimed tamer of the untamable. Mark your feet over mine and hail discovery? Your mockery upsets the divine and she scolds you under her breath. You're only too naive to breathe it, too childlike to see it, claims belief from under which our ancestors created and then rename it. So no, my presence is not here for the pleasure of the male existence, but to shift it, to guide it back into that which it so wrongfully divided, to show you that the lessons kinned in birthrights have roots in earth rights.
We're going to have one more soup performer, Society of Urban Poets performer, come on the mic. And this is someone who we've been wanting to feature here for a while, and hopefully it'll come closer to reality. Let's welcome up Tuan Fan.
That was a Sappy love poem. Wrote a long time ago. It's called Dimension. Let's pretend we don't exist. The beginning, the exchange of wits, the spinning, the exchange of spit, the purple locker notes, the push, the pull, the tug of war in travesty. Forget the fall, its charged leaves. Forget the fall, our scarred knees. Think of it as first, as growing, as thirst, as walking for the first time, and no one is watching. Forget the child in our lips. Forget the way we shaped our bodies. Forget that theory of innocence. Think of it as young, premature mileage, teenage runoff, overspill of gasp, the messy, volatile organisms we've cast together. Forget together. Forget the synchronization of hearts. Think of it as overflow, as syncing of parts. Do not overthink time. Forget drowning clocks. Forget being bound in locks. Think everything metronome, as ticking pendulum, as swing, as linear escape, as symptoms of wings. Forget the clash. Forget the crash. Forget how we forged fate as our final forecast. Think of fate as folding. Forget boy, girl, friend. Think of it as whirlwind, as vapor of passion and sweet fruits, a blind sense of reason. Break the love we had into molecular dust so that every memory of us dry into an airy crust. This is how I will remember you and me, as an abandoned dimension. So when my body's physics want you, that dimension will chemically restore me the moment my mind drifts into our improbability. Such is the nature of unordinary. I will continue dreaming of you running away. I lost you to a city that does not know your name. We called it distance. We called it time and space. We named it conditions of the brain that the heart cannot stretch over. For the heart is the organ of proximity. It only seeks to be closer, want to be closer to you. but we are fantasies apart, our home, a dissipated unknown. When we meet again, we will speak in foreign years, in tones beating against our skin, our verbs in unfamiliar tenses, our questions as filler for empty. The gods no longer envy us. We are not as ordinary. We are not that lucky. We were a damn perfection. So forget this past life. We are a decaying statue of ourselves. We are forgotten by time and space. We will eventually fold into that dimension.
And to bring the roof back up after Jeannie Nunes brought it down, let's welcome up, closing the open mic in the night, Mr. James Van Looy.
So this is called the Resistance Fighters, and there actually is such a statue, and it is now in Southgate. Used to be on Boston Common. Jack Powers actually loved that statue. It's like we've already changed to become exactly what is needed since we turned on our sets and tuned into the all-one-thing world we were living in and dropped out of all these structures which zombie-like refuse to die, lumbering on autopilot as in seeming blink of sky eye everything transforms like when the lights come on and suddenly you can see, even though your light-dazzled eyes, the sounds are distinct, clear, and resonate off the walls, and the colors are realer than the rainbow that rhymes shotgun on the fine, flurry mist. Why didn't we notice how indispensable those women were? Where were those gay people all hiding before? And what was this mystery history not mentioned? What was that pall of technological shadow cast across the landscape? Who were we to do all these things? And then, early in the morning, on the way to a plane, after the silver line goes to diesel from electric, I see them there in peripheral vision. There they are, the ones I've been wondering about that used to be on Boston Common, but then were taken away, disappeared. The resistance fighters on their gaunt, straight-backed steeds flying bayonet hooves, bent backs bearing vertical sky poles on invisible backs, attached to alternating legs you can't see moving. The resistance fighters, the Polish partisans, are in Southie, way up above street level, in new neighborhood that was all empty and bereft 23 years ago when my wife and I came back to Boston. Ejected from Beacon Hill by historical purists and Bushy Beacon Hill Neighborhood Association, they have survived again to ride once more in Southie, where they used to attack you just for being not from Southie. And that's how it is. Everything changes all by itself, changing into exactly what's needed, but it never makes a difference. We just keep resisting, and the all one thing becomes something else, but nobody ever wins. The resistance fighters are in Southie, on the walkway between the Trade Center and the Convention Center, and they show the resistance fighters are in Southie, and they are more spectral than the specter which is haunting Europe and Asia and America. And yes, the specter haunts us, the U.S. Thank you.
Thank you to James, Silent E, Torrent Fan, and everybody else who read on the open mic or just came, whether it was to support Jeannie or just to listen. I thank you all, and another round of applause for Jeannie Nunes. One more time. Wait for the camera. Next week, Hannah Brown returns. Oh yeah, this should be something to look forward to. Chances are, you're one of the people who were unlucky enough to miss it because it was shortly after the crazy ass blizzard of last January. You didn't want to miss it then. You had to. You don't miss it next week. We'll see you next week. We'll see you for Hannah's feature, for Crystal's feature, and for the Stone Soup Slam first thing in November. Have a good night. The show's over. See you next time.
Fantastic as always. Now, did I show you my Black Lives Matter picture on my light bright set? I'm glad. I'm glad. So, good luck.
Oh, thank you. So that's